Hey, what's up? Arvin here. On today's episode, we're going to be going through a side view sketch discussing the proportions of a Dodge Viper. So let's get started. Hey, what's up? What's going on? Arvin here, and I got some exciting news. Today we're going to be drawing the Dodge Viper. The Viper is so incredibly cool. It came out in 2014 with their redesign, and I'm going to be breaking down the proportions of this car, and I'm going to be drawing a side view for you guys. So without any further delay, let's get it on. Now wait, don't forget, if you're driven to draw cool cars and learning about transportation design and how to improve your overall sketching abilities, give me some love and smash that subscribe button right now. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is start with my wheelbase, and I want to establish how long this car is going to be. So for the Dodge Viper or these muscle cars, especially the Dodge Viper, what you're going to see is that you have this really long pronounced hood. It's because it's got to fit this massive V10 engine into it. A lot of these cars, especially for sports cars, they typically start with about 2.5 wheel spacings for a sports car. That is the space between the front wheel or the distance from the front wheel to the rear wheel. So what I'm doing here is just sort of lightly sketching in the proportions of where I want my real wheel to be. That's kind of hard to say. But for the Viper, because it's slightly longer than the typical sports car of 2.5 wheel spacings, I've kind of extended it a little bit. The Viper is about 2 3/4 wheel length between the front wheel and the rear wheel. So the other thing that I do is that I use a lighter color for the background, so when I'm doing the background I can just lay out my construction lines without having the darker lines come back into it. I start to come in with my pencil tool, and then I start to tighten things up. So here I start to define the shapes a little bit more. You can see that the profile of the car now has to be defined from the side view. So I have to be paying attention to what is the shape, what is the profile of the shape, am I placing the shoulders in the right area, am I elongating the nose like it's supposed to be, how far is the overhang on the front, how far is the overhang at the rear, and then I got to make sure that those proportions are correct. One of the other things that you're going to notice is that you have to pay attention to how tall the car is as well. So that's another thing I got to make sure that I'm defining right up front with the wheelbase. And typically for this car, I think it's not exactly 2 wheel diameters. It's just shy of a wheel diameter, so it's about 1 3/4 tall. So that's the thing that you have to make sure that when you're drawing these things that you're making it as accurate, because if this thing looks too tall, then it's going to look like a regular car. It's not going to have that aggressive look. So those are the things you got to keep in mind. Alright, so we're going to be wrapping up the drawing here. I'm not going to put a lot of detail into this because the main purpose of the drawing is to create a line drawing and just a very quick sketch so that you understand what the proportions of this vehicle is. Now as I start to kind of look back at the car, I've noticed I've done something wrong here. So one of the things that I need to go back and fix is that the hood is supposed to be a little bit longer than what I actually have it here. So what I'm going to do is that this is what's really good about digital. You can go in, I can cut it, and I'm going to slide it back a little bit, just a little bit, just to give that front hood just a little bit more length, because again, what we're talking about before is making sure that we are capturing the V10, that there's a lot of packaging room that's needed in order to house the V10 into that front hood and get that space. And that's what's really going to be setting this car apart from other vehicles, right? Because this is really what helps you to understand proportions, that every car that you draw is going to be different. And if you want to draw cars that are iconic and you want to draw them with some accuracy, you got to make sure that what you're drawing and what you're measuring is correct. And if you start to understand the reasoning why things look the way they look, that'll also help to solidify your long-term memory. So anyway, I really hope that you did enjoy this episode and what I showed you here. Coming next week though, what I'm going to be doing is I will end up taking this proportion or a muscle car like this, and then we're going to draw that in perspective. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So I want to make sure that you stick around next week for that video. And as always, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. If you really enjoy learning about drawing cars, drawing any kind of transportation thing, or just improving your sketching ability, be sure to subscribe to this channel and give me some suggestions. Let me know what you would like to see, and I'll be more than happy to help you out. So we'll see you next time on Driven to Draw. Signing off. Have a good one.